Hello, I'm Vex, and this is the Declaration of Independence made simple. Thomas Jefferson's draft of the Declaration of Independence did three big things. One, stated universal principles about human rights and the purpose of government. Two, it listed specific grievances against King George III to prove Britain had violated those principles. And third, it declared that the colonies were now free and independent states. The famous lines appear near the start. All men are created equal. In simple words, the document said people have an unalienable right, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And governments must secure those rights, drawing their power from the consent of the governed. If a government destroys rights instead of protecting them, the people have a right to alter or abolish it. Then came the grievances: quartering troops in homes, cutting off trade, taxing without consent, dissolving colonial legislatures, and waging war against the colonies. Each complaint gave a reason why the king had broken the social contract. There was also a paragraph in Jefferson's original draft that many people don't hear about in school. It condemned the transatlantic slave trade. Jefferson blamed the British Crown for supporting the cruel war against human nature by allowing the kidnapping and the transportation of Africans. This was a real charge, but it was also complicated and incomplete. Colonists and colonial merchants, North and South, had also benefited from and participated in the slave trade and slavery itself. When Congress debated the draft, delegates from South Carolina and Georgia, along with some Northern merchants tied to Atlantic trade, objected to that paragraph. They did not want an attack on the slave trade in the Declaration. To keep unity among the colonies seen as essential to winning independence, Congress removed the anti-slave trade clause. This decision shows a hard truth. Even at the birth of the United States, compromise with slavery shaped the nation's founding document. It's important to be accurate here. The Declaration did not end slavery, it did not free enslaved people. It did set out principles: equality, rights, consent of the governed, that later generations would use to challenge slavery and segregation. Abolitionists, formerly enslaved speakers like Frederick Douglass, women's rights advocates, and civil rights leaders all pointed to the Declaration's promise and said, in effect, make the country live up to this. On July 4, 1776, after edits and debate, Congress approved the Declaration. Copies were printed and read aloud in town squares. For many, it was a moment of hope. For others, especially the enslaved, it raised the question: when would this apply to us? Some enslaved people ran to British lines seeking freedom. Others served the Patriot Army, hoping that liberty would finally include them. Indigenous nations who were not represented in Philadelphia watched as a struggle between two European powers would soon reshape their lands and lives. The Declaration ends with a pledge: our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The men who signed took a real risk. They were declaring treason against the British Crown. But the new nation they imagined was still unfinished, and the work of turning those words into reality for everyone had only just begun. If this helped, hit like and subscribe, and share it with someone who wants to understand America's history in plain, simple terms. Remember, history isn't just the past, it's the story of how we got here.